Hey guys, Ponce here on the PBE, here to talk to you guys about some potential Shen buffs. So the actual numbers, as I always do, are above my head in Notepad here somewhere. So let's quickly go over what that's all about there. So of course, base stats have been upped. It looks like his base MR is increased, and more importantly, since base MR that's not particularly huge, MR he actually gets MR per level now, which is actually fairly significant. Shen is one of those few melee champions who's never gotten it, despite being a tank. I'll talk about, actually, why don't we talk about that now? I don't really remember what the exact reason was. There's some sort of very, very old, archaic Riot reasoning behind this, where, like, I think pure tanks never got MR because they get the items anyway, or they were worried tanks would get too tanky, or I'm not quite sure what it was, but there was some weird reasoning behind it, and I guess, the game sort of changed, so there's no reason for that anymore. If I recall correctly, like, Rammus used to get the same treatment, and then stuff like that. And that if I recall correctly, I think like champions like Rammus get MR per level. I could be wrong. Now I know there's a few others who don't, specifically designed not to get MR per level, despite being melee. For example, I don't think Kassadin does, or did they change that? I know Galio still doesn't, I think. But, there was very specific reasons for that. But, yeah, Shen has finally joined the ranks of melee champions who actually do get MR per level now. Seems reasonable to me at this stage of the game. Second, key strike. Passive has changed. So now, you guys are probably aware that when you auto-attack people or auto-attack people up with your feint shield up, the cooldown on your key strike goes down. Well, now aside from that, because that's still in game, but aside from that, the CDR, or the cooldown, goes down passively when you level. So at level 7, it goes down to 8 seconds. Level 13, it goes down to 7 seconds. So nice little buff there. Key strike tends to be sort of a nice little boost to Shen's damage. Champion tends to not have very much overall. And lastly, we have Shadow Dash. Energy cost has gone down with the, every time you put a point in the Shadow Dash, it goes down from 100, 95, 90, 85, and 80. So when you couple that with his ability to get energy back when you dash through people, it seems like a decent buff. I mean, I'm not the biggest Shen player ever, so I don't... What the hell, Misfortune? Get out of here. Trying to make a video here, Jesus. Don't really have time to fight you right now, so let's just go over here. Anyway, so aside from that interruption there, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I'm not really sure how the if that makes any of his abilities more comboable or anything like that. But buffs are buffs. If something costs less, that's always great. You can probably do something with it.
Press on.
Now, in terms of Shen overall, we were just talking about how, like, there was this rather archaic idea of, tanks shouldn't get MR per level and stuff like that, and the game's changing. Shen is sort of an interesting case of the game sort of changing around him, and him going from, like, something considered extremely overpowered sometimes, and at other times he's just completely unused and considered not worthless, but just sort of not exactly a popular pick. If I recall correctly, the last time Shen was considered sort of a top-tier must-ban sort of pick, it was near the beginning of Season 2, I think. Somewhere thereabouts, where they, like, sort of pseudo-reworked him. And I think at the time, I don't think he's changed too much since then. He may have been nerfed somewhat. I imagine he probably was. But, yeah, they kind of, like, they gave him a lot of sustain in lane, which I don't think was particularly common at the time. And they made him a bit tankier, and then they gave him an actual source of damage and stuff. Just at that time, I don't think there was too many things that could compete with stuff like that, and then Shen at the time was considered very good. Now, you don't hear too much about Shen after that too much, because I imagine it was a combination of probably small nerfs here and there. I should probably research this, but I'm going to take an educated guess. And probably some of the items he was dependent on, I imagine, would change. That tends to change things a lot. And also... If I recall correctly, Shen got those sort of that buffed rework thing around the time when Nautilus was released. And then thereafter, there was a slew of horrible champion releases. It's what I refer to as the Dark Ages of League of Legends balance, where there were things like Release Rengar. I think Release Kha'Zix was pretty bad too. Release Jace. Just these horrible killers, all over the map. Even bottom lane had, what was it, pre-nerf Ezreal Sona combo, which you saw like practically every game if they weren't banned. Those got nerfed. So it was stuff like that, and I mentioned all those factors contributed to sort of Shen falling by the wayside again. And since then, we have all kinds of crazy mega shred tanks all over the place, and Shen just doesn't feel as attractive anymore. That said, I've seen Shen's players, do pretty impressive things. I've seen Shen play very well and have very big impact on the game, but it's just very difficult. The way I think, this is a weird, my personal thought on it, and I don't particularly expect everyone to understand or follow the logic here, but in my mind, he's almost seemed like a crappier, more team-dependent, sort of more lumbering Shyvana, with, sort of less carry potential. They deal this incidental magic damage all around them, but Shyvana can murder everyone, whereas, Shen can help people. When your choices are, murder people, help people, typically murder people tends to be the better option. But, yeah, I don't know. I like these buffs. I think it doesn't seem like they go overboard. I'd always have to test it to, confirm myself. But maybe, these buffs will actually get Shen used again. Again, I really like the fact that he finally gets MR per level. That's always kind of been this nagging thing in the back of the head, when there's the potential of picking Shen. It's, he doesn't get MR per level. I really hate that. But, yeah. Have people finally achieved balance with Shen? I don't know.
There is no
like I said, he always tends to be either something no one ever plays or something that must get banned. And we'll see if Riot gets it right this time. Anyway, see you guys around, and thanks for watching.